Hi, everybody. Welcome to Plant-Powered Business Strategies to Grow Your Positive Impact. My name is Johanna, and I'm here with my friend Brieanah, as always.
Hey.
Yay. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, watching us, listening us. It's December already. Wow, where did the where did the year go? And on that note, we thought we're gonna do kind of like a wrap up of the year session, looking into 2025, do some reflections and share some tips with you for how to easily flow into the new year, hopefully, along those lines. Yeah. So on that, Bree, how are you doing? How's your December going?
In full transparency, we're recording this on the 1st.
Yeah.
So my brain is still wrapping it like around the idea that it's December and that we're already at the end of the year. What about you?
Yeah, I'm doing well as well too. I don't know. Yeah, again, I don't know how the year went by so fast. But here we are, December. I'm trying to get used to it and slowly starting to think about the new year. I'm happy to chat about it with you.
Yeah, I'm excited. I know we want to take a look back, kind of put a bow on things and talk about what we learned and some wins, but also we want to share some tips for planning into 2025 to get everybody excited about a new chapter.
Yeah, I was thinking that so often we just, the time flies and like things happen, big things happen, even like wins and successes, but then after a while they become like part of, or you forget, or they just become like a part of your routines and everyday life. And I thought it would be really cool to take a moment to really look back and celebrate some of the wins and successes from the past year. So if it's okay to start with that.
Absolutely. And before we dive in, I just want to say you'll definitely want to stick around to the end of the episode to get all those tips and that additional little boost of motivation. If you're still spinning like we are, that it's December, you're going to need a little kick in the pants
Yeah.
to start planning all of the amazing stuff for next year. But if you have anything you want to share too, please drop it in the comments. We love hearing from you. All right, let's dive in.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest wins for me this year was that we launched the podcast and just this community that we've been growing around the podcast and the YouTube series and it, like I mentioned, that you so easily forget about the thing that you just did, like the
Yeah.
big thing, after it becomes like, yeah, part of your routine. So I wanted to say thank you, Bree, to you, that we've done that, and thank you to everybody who's listening and watching us. And yeah, it. I thought I dreamed about a podcast for a long time, like at least starting, when the pandemic started, and then I just like forgot about it in between. So it really feels like a dream come true in a way, and it wasn't easy. And also we have a very special like team behind us who's helping us with the editing and everything. So it's, yeah, not just us, but I wanted to share that. It's a big one.
I'm so glad you did. I mean, talk about looking back. We've mentioned this plenty of times in our episodes, but this was all just started as a personal challenge to ourselves. We wanted to challenge each other and hold each other accountable and showing up on social media and doing it through video and talking and sharing our ideas and expertise with the community that we love. And you guys, it resonated with you and you just kept supporting us. And so we wanted to keep this going. And so I just echo that. It's really cool to see how far it's come and how it continues to develop. And definitely shout out to our team behind the scenes helping us edit. If you guys need a virtual assistant, we can definitely recommend one. Heather is awesome. But yeah, just learning to celebrate and share those wins. Thank you, Johanna, for being willing to continue this challenge as well. I've really enjoyed it going on this journey with you.
Yay. And another one, what I was thinking about is working as a coach in the Copy Posse again at the start of this year. And on that note, attending this Posse Fest in Vancouver in October, which I haven't really talked about in public very much because a lot of things happened in between. And but it was so, like, I feel like I've grown so much as a coach this year, just like the level of somehow like confidence in my voice and skills, and that I'm able to support people who want to go through a similar journey that I went through. And just like, I cannot express how meaningful it was to meet you and many of the other people that I've known just through Zoom for almost 4 years now. And it's hard to put words into it, and how like the conversations I had with people kept surprising me. And it was I went to Vancouver with the idea like, okay, I'm gonna meet all of you live and we're gonna have some chats, and I'm like, anything is gonna be a win, like beyond that. And me just putting myself in this like very business networking situation, which it's not something that I do a lot of the time. It was so much fun, it was so meaningful, and it just reminded me of again and again of the power of community and the power of meeting people live. Like, as I'm so grateful for for Zoom, and that we're able to do so many things without being in the meeting live or being in the same space. But there's something really powerful on a different level when you actually meet. So that was very, very powerful.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And just real quick for people that don't know, Posse Fest is a first time held live event in Vancouver by the founder of the Copy Posse, Alex Catoni. We're both in her high level membership reign. And so we've been networking with people in that group and supporting and being supported by her and her team and everyone that's a member there for years, as Johanna said. And so to finally meet in person was really exciting. And I think that goes to one of my like more general wins of just community. Because even with the podcast, we started the coffee chats and we were meeting vegan business owners from all sorts of different niches and backgrounds and locations around the world. And just like the community, even though that one was online, being able to talk about our business woes or trying to figure out different entrepreneurship things, or even just seeing each other and just like holding space for going through it as a vegan in business, which it wasn't a super easy year for a lot of people. That was really cool. Continuing in the Copy Posse and meeting everyone in Vancouver was awesome. To finally be able to hug you, Johanna.
Yeah.
That was so great. And then I think too, like we often forget about, this is an entrepreneurship podcast, but behind the scenes also means our family and our friends and the community that's there too. And just how my friendships have like developed or changed, or what we're all feeling as things shift in the world. Like this year in the US, we had an election last month, and that really shook some of my friend groups, and other friend groups it didn't. And so just navigating the changes and what people need and how we can show up for each other, and having that work-life balance of professional circles, and being supported in community in those ways, but then how your personal circles change and evolve too.
Yeah.
A lot happened in community this year.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And on that, I just thought of one thing. This is like a very personal win, but I'm still thinking about it and already like planning the next thing. So I want to share it. So this summer, I organized like a half birthday party. My birthday is in the middle of the winter, but and I had this party for my friends. Like, we were maybe like 20 something together, and a lot of people who I haven't hung out, like we go way back like 20 years or something, and used to hang out a lot, but not so much anymore. Everybody's busy and has their lives and around living around Finland and Europe and whatever. And we hung out for almost a weekend together, and it was so meaningful. It was so much fun, and just like the kind of feedback I got from my friends, like some of them living in the same city in Helsinki, and they were like, we haven't seen each other in months or even like years, some of them. And like for me to be able to not just for me, but like bring us together and bring them
Yeah.
together and offer this space. It was so much fun and so meaningful. And I think I'm gonna do it again, not as a birthday party, but just like a friends get together. And as
I
I'm
love
explaining this, I'm like, maybe I already shared this like in the podcast, but anyways, it's worth sharing again again
I
because
love
it was
that.
like it we live in a very individualistic society, and this goes both to the business side and personal life. But it's like we're really so much stronger together, and like community and friendships. It's everything.
Yeah. Well, and you make a really good point, and I think it's a win anytime we can really make space for and hold space for that work-life balance, right? So kudos to you. That's a huge
Yeah.
win for holding space for your friends for an entire week. In a similar
A
vein,
weekend.
oh, a weekend.
Yeah, yeah. Still,
Still, like
yeah,
in today's world, like
yeah,
a whole weekend together, that's a big deal.
yeah.
In a similar vein, one of my very good friends from college, she gets us an Airbnb in the mountains, and we disconnect for a weekend and just like journal and dream and like support each other and just take time away from society. We're doing that this coming weekend. So the first weekend in December is when we usually do it, right before the new year, and that's kind of our New Year's tradition.
Oh,
It's only a couple years going at this point, but holding space for people in that way that mean a lot to you is something that I think is a win that isn't always
yeah,
celebrated as a win, because we often take relationships and friendships for granted because they're always there. But making space for them, that's definitely a win.
yeah. Oh, I love that. What you have going.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll definitely report back. Maybe we'll do a little recap in January of
Yeah,
any big ideas that came out of that weekend.
yeah.
There are wins that you want to share.
More wins.
Yeah.
I think what did I okay, I want to mention one more. So I've been working on on a book translation for the past several months. And I'm just, as we're recording this, I'm in the like final stages of finalizing it and sending it over to the editor, and then we're gonna like finish it together. But it's been a huge thing, and also so it's the fourth book I've ever translated, and I've been kind of moving away from translation anyways for several years, and I have a feeling that this is probably going to be my final book translation. Like never say never, but I feel like it's time for something different now, and feels meaningful, and it's a huge project coming to an end. So
That's
yeah,
amazing. Congratulations.
thank
That's really
you.
exciting.
And
I
it's on one of my favorite topics, which is like basically like industrial agriculture, like the climate crisis, animal welfare, animal rights, everything coming together, changing the food system. So it's a heavy book to translate, but the message is really important, and that's why I agreed to also do it. So
Oh, how
yeah,
awesome. Thank you for sharing and congrats.
thank you.
You have to celebrate when that's finally
Yeah,
finished. Want to hear
yeah,
about it.
for sure.
I think
How about you?
I think my last one that I want to share is going to be a personal one. Um, well, I guess we talked about community and maybe, okay, I'll do a professional and a personal one.
Yeah,
So this year, looking back, I started a new job um, as I was laid off in February, and then rehired in a new organization in March. And then several months later, ended up being promoted in this organization. So it's been a journey
yeah,
professionally and in a full-time position this year. There's been a lot of change. But overall, the organization that I'm with now is amazing. The team like has each other's backs. It's a great little community within the organization that I'm really really, really grateful to be proud of. We've been through a lot, just different things in our personal lives, but we've supported each other through it all. And so it's been a really cool team to find and find my place on. So that was definitely a win for me because you never
Yeah.
know when you start a new job, right?
Yeah.
But I'm really, really happy there. Um, and then personally, I got a motorcycle this year in
Mm.
August. And so I wanted something that would really challenge me that I knew very little about. So I felt like a fish out of water and I had to figure it out and could really dive into it. Um, but also I wanted something that would be a similar experience to horseback riding. At the time, Era was retiring, and so I wanted to give her more peace and still have that outlet. Um, and so it's been that for me. I've already put 400 miles on it. And while that might not seem like a lot to like those big motorcycle aficionados out there, it's been really fun for me to learn how to ride, but then also be able to go out on my own around where I live and get that little balance after work and just decompress, those sorts of things. So
Wow.
it's been a fun adventure.
Sounds really cool. It's yeah, not a world that I know at all, but I imagine you like your, hair flowing.
Maybe I'll do a future episode from the motorcycle.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see more behind the scenes footage from your adventures, but yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And on the flip side, there's always learning lessons
Yes.
and challenges. It's just life is like that. So I thought maybe we can talk about those a little bit as well. I can
Absolutely.
quickly start. So for the past few years, ever since I found like joined this membership that we're both part of, Rain, we've done this kind of like a journaling exercise for the new year, and then chosen a word for the year. And I've done that I think 3 years in a row. And this year my word was play. And I just remembered it a while back again and was like, okay, I think I kind of let myself down with with that one. I don't feel like I've been playing enough or having. I guess I was going for like lightness and play and having more fun in my business. And not that it's been like a drag or something, but looking back now, I think I because the idea is that the word is kind of like this guiding light, or at least the way I see it. I didn't play as much as I would have want to, so that's something to learn from.
Okay.
Maybe like going like reflecting like why it was difficult, or what I could do differently to keep myself more aware of any like word I choose for the next year, or if I have like kind of like a goal or intention, like how to hold
Yeah.
myself accountable. So that's one thing I wanted to share.
Yeah.
What have
Yeah.
you learned
Oh gosh.
or struggled with or anything?
Oh, so much. That's why it's oh gosh, because this year for me, and I know a lot of people have felt this way. It's been a tough year. It's been
Mm,
a tough year for many. Um, I think, you know, in part of sharing our own stories, we hope that something resonates with you. We hope that you find comfort in some of the struggles that we're sharing. We hope that it makes you feel less alone. Because I know when I talk about like how I'm feeling or something that happened in my professional or personal life with my friends, they're like, oh, I totally feel that. And then something comes up for them too. So while talking about struggles can be difficult, we hope that our transparency and authenticity like resonates with you in some form or fashion and makes the end of a tough year, even if it wasn't super tough for you. I'm sure you had a bump or two, but makes it feel a little smoother.
mm,
So with that said, as I just mentioned, I got a new job because I was laid off. And so getting laid off is never fun, especially when it's a team that you really enjoyed working with, no matter the reason. Um, and So I think for me, the looking back, the overall theme of the year was like challenging me to embrace change, which I've always struggled with. Um, is a lot of change happened professionally and personally. So I was laid off. I started with a new org. I had to figure out a new team that was also going through change at the time, and um, I've changed my clients throughout the year. So different clients, different voices, different niches. A lot of change that I didn't see coming when the year started. Um, but personally too, at the end of last October, I was on a spiritual retreat, sat with ayahuasca, and really went deep into my healing journey and really kicked it off in a way that I hadn't done on that level before. So right before 2024, I was kicking that off. So it's been a full year of
Mm,
uh embodying that journey, and learning how to heal my body, and like continuing to integrate those practices and working with different practitioners since as different things come up. So um and part of that is challenging my work life balance, because when you're starting on a new team, you dive fully into that, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I was still giving space to my healing journey, still giving space to my friends and family, still giving space to the communities that we've built. And so it's a lot to juggle. And at times I felt like very burnt out.
mm,
Um, and then like probably the biggest challenge of this year was losing my best friend, Era. My
yeah.
horse passed away at the end of September, and that was a huge chapter ending for me, and a huge point of change for me that I'm still navigating. Anyone that's lost like their soul animal in any form or fashion can understand what that means.
Mm,
And so it's navigating loss and going through grief, but still honoring where I am in my healing journey, and still showing up and being professional and driving our initiative forward, driving the organization that I work for forward. It's been a lot. And so I
yeah.
think like looking back, it's a lot of change. It's a lot of like challenging me to just embrace change and let it flow and like see where it goes, and like let go of control of a lot of things. Give space to a lot of things to kind of work themselves out and just see where it ends up. A lot of surrender, I think, is a word that was thrown around
Mm,
a lot this year. I'm like, okay, I can't control this. So
yeah.
woo, here we go. So those are big challenges, and I have respect for and give space to, especially coming out of the pandemic. Like this is the first year where a lot of people felt like they could finally like breathe after the pandemic. Like, yeah, finances were tight. We had an election coming up in the US. There was a ton of anxiety around that, but we could finally like, okay, not have to worry about masks, not have to worry about what was going on. Can we meet in public? Can we not? It felt like the first year out of the pandemic for a lot of people. So there was still a lot of change coming out of such like a restrictive time for a lot of people. So giving space to different people that I interacted with too, of like their perspective is valid, multiple things can be true. So I'm really ranting here, but all I'm trying to say is that there was a lot of change, a lot of navigating different challenges, different work dynamics, different personal dynamics. And I felt like I was on some sort of rebrand
Yeah.
in my life. Just like, who am I? What do I want? What do I want to be working on? What do I want to be spending my time on? Um, yeah, and just experimenting and playing with that. That's where the motorcycle came in. I'm like, okay, I need something else, something totally new to just challenge myself
Mm,
to do in an exciting way. So that's where that outlet came. Um, so yeah, just experimentation, I guess, and seeing how I could flow with change. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for being so open and vulnerable about it. Like, and I just, yeah, wanna
Yeah.
wanna take a moment to like, I don't know, witness that, like that's massive. That's so much in 1 year, like so much change, and this losing an animal, like a soul animal friend, like especially that's well, I mean, when you know, you know.
Yeah.
So wow, just I'm like very much in awe of your like ability to like or capacity to take it all and like deal with it all. That's really big. Mm.
Thanks. And I want to, like, grief is something that I've sat with quite a lot in my life. I lost my mom at 21, and I lost
Mm.
my soul animal this year, and several animals along the way, and
Yeah.
different loss. But I, I want to give space to it too. Like, if anyone listening is in grief in any form or fashion, because any amount of change could have a grief component to it. You can mourn losing a job. You can mourn a
Mm.
friendship that, dissipates and you guys lose touch. You can literally mourn so many things, and be in grief on different things. And so I know there was a lot of it with the election, for example, even in
Mm.
the US. There was grief around that and the future that could have been for a lot of people that were hoping for it to go the other way. So I just want to give space to what that could look like for people. I
Yeah.
want to be transparent that it's gonna be messy. Like, when
Yeah.
we met in Vancouver, I messaged you before and I'm like, I am a wreck. So I'm gonna cry. You'll probably see it. Like, I'm getting teary right now, but
Mm.
wherever you are in whatever level this might be impacting you, I just want to give you space and permission to let it suck,
Yeah.
to just let it suck and be with it, as much as that can feel hard and you want to avoid it. Life is hard. There's a lot of change to navigate. There's a
Mm.
lot of things that you're going to go through, and sometimes you just have to sit with it and surrender to it. I in no way was my best self when we met in Vancouver, but I was able to, balance both things. Not perfectly, but I was there balancing both things. And so letting yourself be imperfect and letting things just be okay enough, um, can be a win in of itself.
Yeah.
So I know I wasn't planning on like derailing us into grief talk too much for this episode, but I at least want to say I see you to anyone listening, and you'll figure out how to live with it, in your own way. And yeah, just give space and time and permission to it is my best advice.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And I really, I feel like it's good to trust what wants to come out. Like it's there for a reason also in
Yeah.
when we do these chats. So all good. I'm really grateful that you share, and I'm sure everybody can relate on some level. And it's like it's definitely been challenging year for me too, on a like personal level, like a lot of stuff like going on from aging ailing parents to relationships to like my like living situation, and like a lot of like things in the background. And I think it's just good to also remember that no, like we're all trying to just like manage and wing it, and nobody really, life it's just like up and down. And I think the like I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but like I think there's not really security like in this, like things can always change.
Things can always change. That's our theme looking back over the year, is how much things changed, which is good and bad, right? So,
Yeah.
any other lessons or learnings that you wanted to share before we move into tips?
um I think I'm like complete with that. I think I'm fine to like move forward. How
Awesome.
about you?
Yeah, yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah.
I think we've covered a lot. Recognizing your wins, reflecting on your challenges, and carrying it all forward in some form or fashion, is really important.
Yeah.
All right. And so then, as we look to the new year, it's a fresh page. A lot of people do journaling or manifesting or some sort of intention setting as a new year approaches. So I know we both wanted to share some tips and tricks for people, to help them in that
Yeah.
process. Do you want to share yours first?
Yeah. So what I really like to do, or what I've been doing more and more lately is kind of journal around like who's the person I want to be and who's the person I want to become in the new year. Like what like qualities I have, like how does my the daily life look like, my weeks, like where do I see myself in some months or even in years. So this is a little bit like I find it difficult to plan really far ahead. Somehow I always have, but I'm challenging myself to do it because I think I see like the value value in that, and not just like focusing on the like whatever problems of the everyday, but like really having a vision, like where you want to go. Yeah, so I like to do this just like journaling, like maybe putting some nice music, like some tea, whatever. And I mean, there's like prompts for this online and everything. But because so much, like this has been like a huge realization for me that it's so much less about like all the things you do, and so much more about the person you want to become. And I had to kind of experience it myself like over the past years to really like that it like clicked in my mind, like, oh, okay. Because at the beginning, like when I first heard this idea, it didn't really connect, but so, and feel free to, if anybody's interested, but you're like, what are you talking about? Feel free to send us a message. Happy to talk more about that. But really kind of like dreaming your life, and the person you want to become.
I love that. And I think probably the biggest thing that I learned in doing similar things with that is there's no right way. There's no
Yeah.
wrong answer. So I love what you said about like putting on music and getting your favorite tea, like really making yourself comfortable and like at ease so that you feel free to just whatever comes. Um, I do something similar. Um, I find that I have to be like in a particular mood or headspace to write at large, if that makes sense,
Mm,
like to write a big piece of
yeah.
future pacing. Um, so more often what I find myself doing is writing bullets or ideas or concepts of things. And so
Yeah.
often you'll hear this referred to as mind mapping. Where you just brainstorm and get all your creative ideas out there. A lot of people use it professionally, but I like to use it personally too. I know I've talked about and probably just on my personal social, but about this 500 things list. It's a thing that my friend actually started at that cabin weekend that I mentioned earlier.
Mm,
The idea is that you challenge yourself to write down 500 things that you want to do in the next year. And 500 is a lot.
yeah.
I think the closest I've gotten is like 250, so halfway. Um, but the goal of having 500 forces you to like dig deep, because once you get past the first 100, those very immediate things are there, and then you have to dive even deeper into like dreams, hopes, desires, personally and professionally. um so it can be anything, literally anything that you've ever wanted to achieve, and you just get it out on paper. What I really like about that form of brainstorming, if you will, is then I have a list to refer to throughout the year. So
Mm,
if I find myself like bored on a Sunday, okay, what's on my 500 list that I could do around the house, or find a course online that I've always been wanting to learn, or whatever it is. When you find those lulls in life, which are okay to take pauses, I'm not trying to say that it has to be hustle culture all the time, but if you do find yourself in a period of change or wanting to try something new or wanting to be reminded of something that you've always wanted to try, that list is always there. So it's been a helpful tool for me. So it's usually something that I like to revisit as the new year comes, and then around mid-year to see how the list is doing and see if I need to add or change anything.
yeah. Wow, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna do that. I actually never did anything like that, and I love the I just this like giving yourself permission to dream and
Yeah.
like dig deep, because I feel like so often as adults it's like we get so realistic or like so down to earth and like, okay,
Yeah,
I can't do that. I don't need that. Like it's maybe not even the point always to make it all come true, but just let yourself like dream
exactly.
and
Exactly.
see
That's totally
what
important.
comes out of there.
Yes, exactly. I have trips on there that I can't afford to take right now, but
Yeah,
like they're on there, so it doesn't have to realistically happen in the next year for all my literal girlies and guys
yeah,
out there. Like it does not need to happen in the next year. The idea is just like, what could you achieve in the next year? Could you hypothetically take a trip to Egypt? Yes, you could. Are you going to? Probably not, because I need to save up for that one, but it's there. And then by
yeah,
getting it out, you remind yourself and you're rereading it. You're like it's staying front of mind. You're not letting that dream die,
mm,
essentially. So eventually it will come.
yeah,
So you don't have to get through everything in the year. Some people are like really intense about it and they want to get everything on
yeah,
their 500 list done in the year, but it's more the dreaming exercise, as you said. So yeah, highly recommend that one. And while we're talking about writing and future pacing and all that, I think one that we also love to do is writing a letter to our future selves. Um, so in addition to really creating that vision for yourself of the person that you want to be, but actually writing a letter to them about everything that you achieved in that year.
yeah,
Um, so mine is dated in January 2025. So I haven't read mine yet for for this year, but the idea is that it kind of breaks down everything that you achieved in 2025, and then you would read it in January 2026.
yeah,
You kind of manifest some things. Maybe you're trying to buy a house, or you want to get a new dog and open your life to them, or you hope to get a new job or bring in a new client, start a podcast, whatever it is. You kind of list those things and how they happened, and then you get to look back and see, did I achieve those things? But
yeah,
it's that intention setting of things you want to achieve in the year, and see what you were dreaming about at the end of the year before.
yeah. Yeah, thanks for sharing that too. I really love that. And for everybody, or the skeptical minds listening, if there's anybody, try it anyways. Because the
Yeah.
first time I heard about this, I was like, what? Like, what? And then I think it was probably 4 years ago or something. And I mean, I remember I lost the letter because I keep changing places. And then I found it 2 years later. I was like, oh,
Oh, wow.
I opened it and almost everything I wrote like actually came true in one way or another. Like they
So
weren't, it
exciting.
wasn't like, I'm gonna travel around the world or something massive because I wasn't very good at dreaming even a few years ago. I've been trying to practice, but there was stuff like I'm like spending a longer period of time in the north of Finland, and I did that, and I was really amazed by that actually these things came true. So yeah, try it. It's really fun.
That's so cool.
Apparently, there's also on that. I think there's some programs online where you can write it, and then it sends you the email. Like I should like in a year or something like that. I should
Yeah.
probably do that.
Yeah. For the people that are more tech inclined and don't
Yeah,
enjoy handwriting things,
yeah,
there is one that will just show up in your inbox on whatever date you choose in the next year. Um, so it's kind of cool to get an email from yourself.
yeah.
But that's
Yeah,
really cool that you found yours and a lot of it has happened. Thanks for
yeah,
sharing. That's
yeah.
awesome.
It was very like bizarre to find out. Um,
Um, I think I want to share another one that I've been thinking about as I think about the next year. And this one goes more to professional, I guess. But in how this year has changed for me professionally, the new job and different clients coming in, us creating this community, and the podcast. I've been thinking a lot of like, how do I want to show up and who do I want to network with and what do I want my community to be, both online and person. Um So I want to pose the question. You don't have to answer, but to anyone listening, I think it's worth thinking about of how would you expand your network in 2025? What would you do differently? What would you change? I know it's a big question that I'll be thinking about all month because I want to kind of look at what I'm posting on social media and how I'm interacting with people online, both in a business context, but also in building the movement that we both got into this podcast for. Like, there are animal issues that are going to be coming up, especially in the US in the next 4 years. So, what involvement do I want to have in that? What questions do I want to be asking? Who do I want to be networking with and working with, to do the most good? What issues matter to me? And answering those questions, I think is a big one for me going into the new year. We've talked a lot about manifesting and putting those intentions into the universe and creating lists of things you want to achieve and writing a future for yourself and who you'll be. Um, all this can get overwhelming. At least I've felt that way in the past, especially when I set harder goals, like those smart goals that are specific and how am I going to get there and what are the metrics I'm tracking to get there. It can get really overwhelming. And one thing that I felt has helped me in goal setting has been to just look at it quarterly. So for at least 3 months, you're just doing. You're not so much worried about, am I actually achieving the thing? And 3 months is a good chunk of time. So you like something could actually be accomplished in that time, right? And so you can look back and say, okay, am I making progress towards the goal that I set for myself? That larger, maybe annual goal for myself. If not, then you tweak it. If you are, then you leave it alone and you let it continue to move along its path. But making it quarterly has taken a lot of the pressure and overwhelm feeling off for me. So I wanted to share that for anyone that's setting goals in their business or in their personal life and is worried about falling behind or not achieving certain things. Just check in periodically. Don't psychoanalyze it too much, and things will develop more than you expect them to.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good one. And also one that I want to and know strategic about, because yeah, like I mentioned, I'm not very good at planning like far ahead, and I know it's a bit of my something I stumble or something I need to work on. So yeah. And on that, I think we can slowly start wrapping it up. But I was wondering, is there something that you want to like change in the new year, like a practical thing, like or like that you want to commit to? And I'm asking this because I've been thinking that, like, I've realized that time management and systems and all of this like boring stuff, it's really hard for me. It's and it's what I struggle with. And this is like what I want to commit to in the new year. And
Yeah.
as a part of that, like I'm gonna hire a part-time virtual assistant. So anybody listening, if you have any recommendations, like feel free to reach out. But yeah, like so this is something I'm committing to. Like I wanna like it's time for me to like move on to some new level, that and that's going to be part of that. So hope that
That's
makes
so
sense.
exciting.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that. Congrats.
thank
Congrats, congrats,
you.
congrats. It's a big leveling up moment.
Yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. Um, Gosh, with a big question right at the end. I
it
think
can be
for
a small thing also, you know.
I'm going to continue with the vulnerability sharing in this episode, apparently. I think for me, one thing that I've been reminded of in going through such a profound time of grief has been work-life balance.
Mm.
Um, how much I have to give and how much I'm holding for myself. I haven't always been the best of holding a reserve that's large enough for me and overgiving. And so I've gotten better since Era passed because I simply had to step back. And I want to hold myself to that and not just revert back to the old patterns that were leaving my cup too empty. I want to be sustainable moving into 2025 with my energy, with my practices, with whatever it is. I want to make sure that, like, okay, you're at 50% cup already today. You have 10% to give, and like, and that's okay. So giving myself permission, um, really enforcing boundaries, and just taking it day by day. Because just because I have 10% to give one day doesn't mean the next day I won't have 90% to give, So just giving myself space to show up however I can that day, and that's okay. And just keep on keeping on in whatever form or fashion that looks like. But I think the permission is the biggest piece of just, it's gonna be okay. Whatever you can give today is plenty. Just make sure that you're also saving some for you. And that's something that I've learned. I just haven't always practiced. So I think that's going to be a big one that I'm going to hold myself to in 2025.
Yay. Sounds very good.
Before we go, I do want to do a little bit of a tease because I hope everyone's enjoyed this episode. We'll be having our last coffee chat of this season, or the year even. Oh my God, that's so weird. I still can't believe 2025 is a month away. Okay. We'll be having our last coffee chat in December, and we'll be going through themes like this. So we wanted to kind of pull back the curtain and offer that to our podcast listeners and YouTube watchers as well. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'd love to hear your stories, your manifesting, your planning for the new year. But speaking of planning for the new year, we wanted to do a little bit of a tease at the end of this episode and let you know that we have something big planned for early 2025. As you all know, this started as a personal challenge for both of us. It's developed into a podcast and building community, and we want to continue to build it. I won't say too much more, but we're cooking up something pretty exciting, and we can't wait to share it with you in the new year.
Yeah. So yeah, keep your ears and eyes open. You'll hear from it soon enough. But it's gonna be good. So thank you so much for listening, and yeah, hope you found this valuable, and we'll talk to you soon in the new year. Wow.
See you in 2025.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.